You're messing with me.
Yeah, you're messing,
sir.
You guys are messing.
I don't
with me.
appreciate it.
I'm going to leave you here buried in the dirt.
I'm here with Matthew Orton from the Drunken Cryptids podcast. Man, Matt, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks, Ty, for having me on. Man.
Yeah, for sure. We had your editing, your partner of the Drunken Cryptids on a couple weeks ago. Yeah, Tommy. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, great guy. He's slowly recovering. He had surgery a week ago, and then he had another one this morning. I mean, the poor guy just, I call him Fragile.
Fragile?
Yeah, if you remember, yeah, if you remember Christmas Story. It's Fragile.
Yeah.
So, because like you're fragile, dude, you keep falling.
Yeah.
So, but my other nickname for him is Mr. Wizard. I mean, I wouldn't be where I was at if it wasn't for Mr. Wizard. So when I needed something to go, Mr. Wizard.
Yeah.
He's like, oh. So a little matrix in there for you.
Okay. Yeah. And we talked a little bit about you being a movie buff before we even got started here. Yeah. And so like, I'm sure we'll have lots of movie references between the two of us. Yeah.
I love it. If I could probably have a whole conversation just on movie quotes.
Yeah.
You know, and I always enjoy having when we go out and stuff, I start throwing movie quotes to somebody, they're going to jump right back at it with me.
Right.
It's a lot of fun. Star Wars is my favorite. So
yeah. Okay. So Star Wars is your realm.
I am a Star Wars nerd.
So strange for a guy that's into cryptids to be aware of like the sci-fi space stuff instead of the fantasy based. Is that what?
Well, my first taste of fantasy was Tolkien's Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
So as a kid, my mom gave me the collection to read, and I remember I got sick. I caught mono actually in 8th grade, and so I remember I had the books and I dove into them. Yeah. Like my favorite King book is actually Eyes of the Dragon.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a lot of people don't know that one.
I'm trying to remember if I read that or not. I know the title. I can't remember if I read it or not.
Yeah, it's a medieval fantasy style. Yeah, it's amazing. He did a great job with it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I was going, is there more? He did that one.
That was it?
Yeah, that was it.
I guess like the Gunslinger series is kind of
a little bit modern, more modern.
It weaves in and out of different time periods.
Yeah, and if you're not keeping up with it, when a new one comes out, you gotta go back and reread the last one because it's been 10 years.
Yeah, for sure.
What? So I don't know how he keeps up with it.
That's awesome. Well, man, tell me about Drunken Cryptids first of all. Your show. How did it get started? Now that we have the host here, and we can talk to you. We talked to Tommy a little bit, and he was trying to piece it together a little bit. And he could only tell me from his perspective, but I want to hear it from your side. I know you said you're originally from Utah.
Yeah.
Moved to Arkansas. And how did you get into podcasting, and why Drunken Cryptids?
Yeah. So I grew up in Utah. We grew up. My stepdad had a cabin in the Uintas, so we'd spend our summers and a lot of weekends and everything going up there in the woods. Always knew about Bigfoot. Grew up with Bigfoot. I mean, when the Patterson Gimlin film was big, we'd be on TV or something, and my grandpa would even go, "Well, he's up there."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I know. I just haven't seen him." So it wasn't like a taboo subject for us. It really wasn't. It was great. My mom had an encounter, which was she saw something in March of 85.
Okay.
I think 84, 80, or 83. Between 83 and 84 is when she had an encounter. And then
when you say she saw something, what do you mean that she saw something?
So my stepdad had knee surgery, and they went up there in the wintertime. They wanted a kid-free weekend. So me and my little sister had to go to my grandparents' house, and they went to the cabin.
Yeah.
And my dad had knee surgery, so he had to exercise and walk and stretch it out. And my mom was like kind of making fun of him on the snowmobile. And she drove up a hill, and she was waiting for him to, walk up the hill. She looked back behind her, saw him walking up, and down on the other side of the hill were these snowmobilers. And she was like, okay. Looked over to her left, and she said it was way taller than a person.
Yeah.
Heavy snow coming down. She said it was far enough away to where she couldn't get details, but it close enough to realize that her first thought was it was one of the snowmobilers down there that was up there for some reason. And she realized that it wasn't a snowmobiler.
Yeah.
It was too big to be a person. And she turned around, yelled my stepdad's name 3 times.
Okay.
And turned to look back, and it was gone. So my dad, he got up there, and she's like, we got to go. And she told him that night, and he got upset. Because he told me even today, he goes, we could have found tracks.
Right. That was my first thought.
Yeah, we could have
Did you go look for tracks? Uh-huh.
So she made up for it in 92, a year before I joined the military. We went up to Hellhole Lake, which is an awesome glacier-fed lake up in the high.
Did you say Hellhole Lake?
Hellhole Lake. Yeah,
Hellhole Lake.
It's hell to get up there.
That's great.
It is. It's a nightmare. It's
There's
a
lots
national
of places
forest
that have
area.
those types of names. Like, have you ever been to the Devil's Rocking Chair here in Arkansas?
No, where's that at?
It's like a big rock outcropping that's on the side of a mountain. I think it's up in the Ozarks, but like it's a rock outcrop that looks like it's a, I don't know, like the chairs, like you have the arms of the chair
Yeah.
they're coming out, and then you have the seat and stuff, and like you got to go climb up, and it's huge.
Oh, that'd be cool
But
to
just
go check
overlooks
out.
the valley. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Devil's Rocking Chair.
Tommy, if you're watching, make a note of that.
We're leaving notes for Tommy on other podcasts now. That's awesome. Love that.
Yeah, well, real quick about Tommy. I'll get back to the Hello Lake though. But I love Tommy, and I put Tommy through. I mean, I put him through the ringer. I really do. Him and Jacob both. I mean, I give them on air. I give him a hard time. Off air, I give him even a harder time.
Yeah.
But I would not be where I'm at today without Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
In all honesty. Behind the scenes working within a week of Tommy coming on board. And he told the story a little bit. He told me I'd met Tommy back in 19 and we hit it off. We were both single going through, horrible. We were both going through a really bad breakup relationship stuff. And so we just kind of clicked and we just kind of bonded and hung out. And we kind of, 2020 hit. So a lot of people weren't able to go out anymore. And Tommy is, met this wonderful young lady who's married to now. So I did the ceremony for you.
Oh,
Love you
nice.
guys. It was an honor. But he, when I started the show, he was all excited and he told me, he goes, "Hey, I had some weird stuff happen to me in Kentucky." And I was like, "Well, come on, let's talk about it." I had a friend of mine named Maddie who had pushed me to do the podcast. So we'll talk about the history in a second. Maddie, he really wanted me to do it. Really, 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 really. And he goes, "I've always wanted to be involved in a podcast. This is so cool to me." And I don't know anything about podcasting. I know nothing.
Sure.
Nothing. I would listen to some, but I'll talk about the beginning. We started in 2020. And Maddie pushed and he said, "Listen, I'll produce it for you. You just talk. And you just be you and we'll record it." And I was like, "Gotcha." So 2 months later, after we started it, Maddie unfortunately passed away due to a stroke. He had a massive stroke. It was really tough. He took passwords with him that we had, everything with him that we had. He was seeing this a gal, and her son was 17 and was helping him with the YouTube stuff, and it broke this guy's heart. To Gunner, great kid, and Gunner was like, "Well, I'm going to still help," and I was like, "Okay." So trying to do a show a week went to doing a show every 2.5 weeks, or it was just a really dark time for us from April to June. Honestly, for the show. And I'm like, we just started. I mean, I maybe, thought about giving it up, thought about quitting. I mean, what's the point? I'm hitting obstacles. But, Tommy came over I was grilling out and he just he texted me if he could come over. And I said, "Sure." And he was talking and he told me, he goes, "I used to do stuff for radio shows and I want to get involved." And this is the end of May, Memorial Day weekend. And I was like, "Well, let me think about it. I don't know if I want to continue on." And he goes, "Okay." And something just told me, do it. So I called him 2 days later, said, "Hey, come over, let's talk." And he came over, we sat down and on my deck. And I said, "Okay, yeah, I want you to do it." Within a week, he had me on streaming platforms. Within a week, he was pushing and promoting everything. And I was blown away. And then immediately after that, I started getting encounters. People were, I was finally getting encounters coming in. I was like, oh. I mean, we were recording almost like 2 episodes a night when I was kid free. And I was just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Mm-hmm. And Tommy was just sitting there grinning. So I would not be today if it wasn't for Tommy on that side. So I give him a lot of grief, but I can't praise him enough. And then Jacob, who is my sometimes co-host, and I'm looking at you. And I love Jacob. Jacob's like the little brother I never wanted. Yeah. But I'm damn glad I got. If you see us side by side, we do almost look like we're brothers. Mm-hmm. Just the beard. But he'll come on and he'll let me co-host. But when we go and do our investigations, I'm a disabled veteran. I have a hard time, with walking, and my balance and everything's off. I've got, from the injury, I've got cysts on my lower back, on my spine, that pinches nerves off. So I lose feeling, and getting up and walking is a chore. And Jacob's always right there, like, "Do you need your cane? Do you need," what I mean? So he's like this little babysitter for me to make sure that I'm okay. And there's a certain spot that I can't do. He'll step in and cut me off to save my pride, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it wasn't, so, Jacob, I give a hard time, but I appreciate you. So, but yeah, so 1992 in Hellhole, we hiked up there. Me and my mom, stepdad, and a friend of mine, Toby, and we were coming down. It was in August, and we got snowed on. That's the high elevation. I mean, yeah, you're going to get snow up there. I mean, there's snow on the ground almost year round in the shade. And my mom was the only one wearing shorts. The rest of us were wearing pants. We get down to the little parking lot area right outside the National Forest part. And it's a little parking lot. It's probably about, maybe 75 yards, if that. Just enough for people to park so wide open. My mom was walking around to warm up. So I was jumping up and down, saying my name. And my dad goes, go see what she wants. And there was a track. Plain as day, a track. And in 92, we were looking at it, and it wasn't a full, complete footprint. It almost looked like it was like the ball of his foot, like he was sprinting.
Yeah.
And we got no pictures of it. Of course, we didn't have any plaster. We weren't looking for Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So got pictures of it, like, this is cool. And I still have those pictures, which is really, really neat. I've held on to them all these years. And yeah, so my mom made up for the lack of tracks on that day. But yeah, I joined the Army in 93. I had a chance to go all over the world. I was still that nerdy kid. As a kid, I was reading books on UFOs. Loch Ness Monster was one of my favorite ones. Bigfoot was one of my favorite ones. The story of Ape Canyon out there out west. I don't know if you know that one.
I don't.
In Washington State. Yeah, Ape Canyon was these miners, early 1900s. I'm screwed up. If I screw up the dates, I apologize. But so they went up mining. They had a cabin. They had a claim. Yeah, it was early 1900s. And they went there to work it. Well, the story is one miner saw one of these creatures and took a shot at it. Might have hit it. And that night they got attacked. Like the whole clan of Sasquatch, like throwing rocks, beating their cabin up. There's one miner described an arm came through and was trying to reach them through the cabin walls. Huge ordeal. Every miner involved with that actually went to their deathbed claiming that what they testified to was real.
Yeah.
They never went back and worked the claim again. They actually gave away the rights to the claim. They did everything they could, got rid of it. They never went back.
Wow.
So, and that's right there by Mount St. Helens.
Yeah.
Which is ironic. Yeah. So, yeah. So out west is where the really big activity is at. And so Ape Canyon was fascinating to me as a kid. Loch Ness Monster, UFOs, books on ghosts. I was a kid that's what I was doing in the library. So we didn't have the internet. We had libraries.
Yeah.
Car catalog was my friend.
Right.
And I got lucky. My parents were real supportive. We actually lived in a haunted house at one point there in Utah. That could be a whole episode in itself. The house was really haunted, really bad. And, but no, my parents, like I said, I'd bring home a book and they'd be like, well, what are you reading now? Oh, this is about the Amityville Horror. Or this is about, the haunted at this house over, or this is, researching in on that. And my parents were like, okay, it's weird. All until the day I brought home a book on Satanism.
Wow.
Yep. I brought home a book on Satanism. It wasn't because I wanted to be Satanist. I mean, that wasn't, but it was to know your enemy, if that kind of makes sense.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, let me check this out. What are these guys talking about? This is weird. And instead of me walking back to the library, my mom drove me back to the library to return said book. And so I read it at the library, if that makes sense. So I learned it that was the only time I could never bring anything to the house. That was about it. So travel around the world. Fort Hood, I had a crazy encounter, and those lots of podcasts out there have that encounter on there where we actually had something stalk us one night. I was on guard duty, and I was the NCIC of a guard site. I had two other soldiers with me, and whatever these things were, stalked us all night long. Threw rocks at us, moved around, messed with us, making noises, and something that, it was, a very, very surreal, paranormal, cryptid experience where I have no idea what it was.
Did you ever get a glimpse of any
Nothing.
part of it or anything?
Well, there's one part in the encounter where we had a chem on it we were using for shade because it was August in 2000, in Fort Hood, Texas. So it's hot. And I moved this out of the shade and I'm thinking there's actual people. I'm still thinking at this point in time there's people. And this was the first key to me that there wasn't people. And I moved this out then we had the ammunition that we were guarding to our left, and to my right was this thicket, real good, the kind of thicket that a rabbit ain't going to go through. You know what I mean? Was right there on my right, so I knew nothing was going to come through, and I was facing, the due east, and I had my two guys that were facing the opposite directions behind me, and this thing walks up, and you can hear it's a bipedal, step, 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 step. And I was trying to squat down lower and lower and lower to the ground to silhouette it against the skyline so I could see whenever it come up, and I had a flashlight. And it got about 4 feet, what sounded like 4 feet to me in front of me. And I turned the light on. There was nothing there and nobody there.
Wow.
And immediately my right, something jumps up and runs. I mean, it was just that quick. And I jumped up, ran along the thicket to go over this dirt berm. They'd chase it, intercept whatever it was. And as soon as I got on top of this berm is when this giant rock just lands behind me. Thump, thump. I spun around and I went down to the bottom, and one of my soldiers was standing there, and I grabbed him by the collar, and this big old bad Sergeant Orton face to face, and I'm yelling at him, and this is y'all messing with me. That's not the exact words I was using.
Yeah.
Explicit words.
You're messing with me.
Yeah, you're messing,
sir.
You guys are messing.
I don't
with me.
appreciate it.
I'm going to leave you here buried in the dirt. But there's a lot of yelling, a lot of curse words were involved. And as I'm yelling at him, I realize he's crying. And we're not talking, I mean, he has tears streaming out of his eye. I mean, his face is wet.
Yeah.
And he's scared. His eyes are huge. He's scared. And I'm realizing it's not them. As I'm realizing this, I'm holding on to him. Behind me in the woods, this log just goes, something, step on it. So I kind of push him back a little bit, and I go running in there. And I've been in some dark woods. I've been out. I mean, grew up, in the mountains. I grew up in the woods. I joined the infantry. I was in the infantry. And, we're in the woods. This is what we train for. We train at night. Mm-hmm. So the night's my friend. These were the darkest woods I've ever been in. Ever. And it's a feeling I can't even... Yeah, it's like the hardest part of the whole entire encounter. It's just, I've seen and done some really weird and scary things before, but that night in those woods was probably the most scared I've ever been. And a lot, I catch some flack I catch for it because there's one part in my memory of it. It's not from my eyes looking ahead. It was me looking at myself from about my 2 to 3 o'clock position,
right,
where I'm holding this flashlight. I can see me holding the flashlight, but I'm looking at me, but I'm also looking from my perspective. And I was only about 15 feet in the woods, and it was everything in my body told me to leave. And I slowly backed out of the woods. And from then on, that night, like I said, things running around. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what spurred everything.
Wow.
So I already had a passion for this topic, but that encounter right there was, crazy. But I've seen shadow people. I've investigated haunted houses. I've got EVPs. I've been touched, by the paranormal, which is really weird when you're not expecting to get touched and you get touched by something. And you're just like, what? So
what are shadow people?
So shadow people are, all right, everybody has a theory on shadow people.
Yeah.
Shadow people, and if anybody has anything to do with the paranormal, some of y'all already know what I'm talking about. They have different categories apparently. There's a hat man. I've seen one hat man. That's when I was a kid.
Hat man.
It has a hat. Some describe him as a top hat. Some describe him as a cowboy hat.
This is crazy.
So I know. But it's like a black shadow.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. It was like when my own personal experience when I was a kid. I've seen I never heard it explained as like shadow people, but I knew exactly what you were talking about as soon as you said that. And I was thinking how ridiculous it was going to be if I had to tell you that he was wearing a hat.
No,
you just brought it up. That's incredible.
What kind of hat was he wearing?
It was almost like a wide brim, like I don't even know how to put it. Like almost like how you see I don't like a Carmen Sandiego type of, you know what I mean, the wide like sleuth hats and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely that.
Mine was a top hat.
Really?
Yeah, mine was a top hat. Me and my mom saw the same one. And she doesn't remember it having a top hat. She remembers it having almost like a patty hat. I was like, no, it was a top hat. So we have seen the same thing, 2 different descriptions of it.
Yeah.
Which is weird in our, from our memories. So when did you see yours? How old were you?
Oh my God. So
I'm gonna put you on the spot now.
probably, I saw it, a few times, in a few different instances, but like they're so burned in my memory that I can see them so clearly, even now as an almost 40-year-old man.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. I was probably about, 9 or 10 years old the first time, which is when I was walking down this path down to my aunt's house, and then one of the, like, a shadowy hand just like reached out, like the torso I saw of it. It reached out of the bushes and like it went through my shin, but it freaked me out so bad. And then there were a couple of other instances where I would like be at my grandmother's house, and then she had like this upstairs like loft area where you could see straight up the stairs and you could see the next level. And he was just sitting there, just looking back at me. When I look, I mean, we just made eye contact. You know what I mean? I couldn't see its eyes, but I knew that it had eyes that were staring right back at me.
Yeah,
it was so bizarre. But yeah.
Okay, so you had the So I had two. So I had two classifications of shadow people.
Yeah.
Right. So you had me. In my opinion, you had the classic encounter, which is, well, not the classic. You had the second category. The second category to me is more of an intelligent type of shadow person.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know what it is. I don't know where they come from. I don't know what's going on. I know that with my encounters, like I said, I've had two intelligent ones.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple of the other ones. I'll talk about those here in just a second, just based upon my own research and my own encounters. So I'm by no means an expert at all. So anybody in the paranormal world or the crypto world goes, I'm an expert, go ahead and just turn them off and just move right on past them.
Sure.
Yeah, seriously. There's nobody has. I've never interviewed a shadow person. You've never interviewed a shadow person. I've never interviewed Sasquatch. I would love to. Sasquatch, if you're listening to this, you have an open invitation. Come to the tavern. God. We'll have a beer.
You imagine the first podcast with the Sasquatch. That'd be great.
I would love that.
Yes.
No, so yeah, they're intelligent. Like the two intelligent ones, and they're letting you know, yeah, I see you. Yeah. And you see me. What's up? The other ones run away. So most of your shadow people, like I'll use in here right now. So like behind me, like right there, the little build up you have right there. Yeah. So let's say we're talking, all of a sudden you see somebody peek their head out. As soon as you see them, they run away. They're gone. Yeah. A lot of the videos that have been captured out there of shadow people are that way. They're running away. They're running away. Okay. They're disappearing. So I consider them, I was referring to them as peeping toms.
Okay.
If a peeping tom's watching and all of a sudden he realizes he got caught, he runs away.
Right.
Classic case of a peeping tom. And I was having a discussion with one of my episodes, and me and Nestle got talking about shadow people, and I was breaking it down about peeping toms, and I stopped and I went, well, hold on a second. Now we're going to go. You can't do paranormal cryptids without honestly going to the Old Testament. Mm-hmm. You can't. So, when God flooded the world, so before God flooded the world was infested with the Nephilim, which is, the offspring, the fallen angels, have mating with, the daughters of man. So these creatures are not allowed to enter hell or heaven. So the spirits have to wander. And a lot of them are considered watchers. So it depends upon which version of Christianity you want to kind of follow. And I don't want to attack any Christians out there at all, by no means. So don't think I'm trying to attack anybody. I'm really not. But with the watchers, it's disputed whether or not they were here to help us or whether or not they were here to not.
Right.
So it all depends upon who you want to talk to on that one.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is the shadow people could be the disembodied spirits of the watchers. And that's why when we see them, they're running away.
Yeah.
So that's my theory. So that's just a theory that I have.
Okay.
I'm probably getting attacked right now in the comments. And I know it's for a fact. Because I talked about this on TikTok and
because everybody else knows the real answer. Yes,
everybody knows the answer. And it's just a theory, you guys. Just a theory.
Yeah.
Just a theory. Something to think about. And that's the cool thing, with this genre and field is I stay away from the so-called experts and anybody claiming to be an expert. Now you can be an expert in your research area. Mm-hmm. You know the trees, you know the land, you're an expert.
Yeah.
You're an expert on the encounters that you're having at that moment. I know that if I go out at noon on Sundays and I leave an open bottle of jar of peanut butter, I know that it's going to be gone 2 hours later.
Right.
You're that's your expertise now.
Sure.
What's taking the peanut butter? Why it's taking the peanut butter? What's it doing with the peanut butter? You're not an expert on.
Yeah.
And that's where I get into some debates with some of these other folks.
Okay.
Because to do what I do by going out in the woods, doing the research, you also have to be a good armchair researcher as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fun that we're in armchairs.
Yeah.
That's what they're reading, other shows, other podcasts as well, TV shows, and stay away from some of the TV shows. I'm just saying, not everything is a demon. I'm just not attacking any shows, but not everything's a demon.
Surely not all. None of those shows are like manufactured or anything either. Manufacturing drama or.
Yeah.
It's really not.
No,
it's all authentic.
No, it's all.
Yeah.
Speaking of shows,
yeah.
I was. There are every show, every documentary you watch. There is. There is. They're produced.
Yes.
They are produced.
Right.
They are produced.
Yeah.
I know a lot of off-air shows that were heavily produced. I've talked to some of the researchers that were involved with that one and why those shows are no longer around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is, when you're a researcher, honestly, and somebody approaches you to come on a show or to start a show or something, it's an honor. It really is.
Yeah.
But when you lose control of the direction we're supposed to go,
right?
And remember, ratings are everything.
Yeah, ratings
are everything. Sponsors are everything. It's no longer for the love of let's go out here. Let's actually find out what it is. And there's one researcher that actually does it for the love of it. Who started off his own Survivor show, and he would go alone. And if you probably already know who I'm talking about. And he would actually go and do this alone.
Yeah.
And while he had some encounters out there, didn't know what it could have been, got him curious. So he went to the Travel Channel to get started. Let's do Survivor Man looking for Sasquatch.
Okay.
And they went, no, man, it's been done. No, we're not doing it. So he started his own research. Yeah. And he's got a great YouTube. If you'll check out Survivor Man YouTube, let's search. He goes out there doing the real deal, trying to get to the actual bottom of it, of what these elusive creatures are.
Wow.
So
it's really crazy. I used to be obsessed with the what's it called? Transatlantic Paranormal Society. So they had the ghost hunters. There were the ones, TAPS. They had their own magazine that they used to publish, and you could find it in Hastings. But they also had ghost hunters. But I knew it was a lot of that was manufactured, where it's just always like.
Well, for them, so honestly, for them, it wasn't. When they first started, it was not.
Yeah.
If you watch the earlier shows,
right.
And my favorite ones, honestly, from them wasn't where they were catching evidence.
Yeah.
It's where they were going in and going, okay, yeah, this place isn't haunted. Mm-hmm. Okay, hey, look, this is what you're having. This is what you're experiencing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you have to have an open, everybody thinks when you do these shows and you're in the genre that every little bump in the night is a ghost. It's every, tree branch or break or anything in the woods is Bigfoot or Dogman or whatever.
Yeah.
It's something. And it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, 99% of the time you go out there, you're not going to encounter anything.
Mm-hmm.
When you go on a ghost hunt, you're not going to encounter anything.
Right.
And I love those episodes. I would study more than the ones of them catching stuff. Like, okay, cool. You got an EVP. All right, everybody gets EVPs. How did you disprove what they were going through? That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
And that's what I was studying on. To become a good researcher, you also have to become you have to be able to debunk, quote them.
Sure.
So I was a huge TAPS fan. Do you know where Josh Gates got started at? Yeah, Josh Gates. So TAPS would do a live show every Halloween, and Josh Gates got asked to host the live shows, and that's how Josh Gates got started on where he's at now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So through TAPS, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. And I think they're still going now. Oh, they took a long break, and then they took a long break.
I think Grant left.
Grant was my favorite. Yeah,
he was mine too. My favorite one with Grant, honestly, was when they were at my daughter's gonna kill me because she loves haunted hotels, and she did an episode on the hotel.
Yeah,
up there in Colorado. The Shining was filmed there.
The hotel that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
no, I can't think of it.
She's gonna kill me.
My parents just went there recently, and they.
It's on my list. Stanley.
Yes, the Stanley Hotel.
Stanley Hotel.
Yes.
So they were in the basement and they were doing a live show with Josh Gates hosting, and they were filming, and you can see something grab Grant's coat, his hood.
That's wild.
And pull him back a little bit. And it's right. They cut it on camera. So
yeah,
it's, and in these shows too, you guys, you got to remember is that the camera has to be at the right place at the right time for the encounter to happen. And we'll find out for sure here in a couple of weeks for my show. Because they're being they're being hushed to me about whether, because I had an encounter on Search for Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Which was an awesome show. Jason Kinsey, he is very eccentric.
Yeah.
But his passion for what he's trying to do comes through, and he wants answers. He's had numerous encounters. He doesn't know. He comes at it from a very serious perspective. If you're just watching the show to watch the show, you're not going to pick that up from him. But knowing Jason now, and I love that, I'm happy I could become a friend. I call him up and be like, hey man, what do you think about this? And we'll cross ideas off of each other. But we had an encounter at night. We had a couple encounters on our night investigation for the show, and we don't know if we caught it on camera.
Oh wow.
And that's the thing. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
So now you're waiting for that. Yeah.
I'm waiting for it.
What was the name of that show?
Searching for Sasquatch.
Searching for Sasquatch.
It's on Tubi.
Yeah, on Tubi, and your episode comes out
at the end of March, beginning of April timeframe.
Okay.
Yeah. So
perfect.
You got to hold me like about a month. We talked a month or so ago because I'm working on another program, another series that's probably going to start next year. I've got a couple of the podcasters going to join me. I think Jason Kings is going to join me. We're going to get to some good research stuff, and I can't mention it legally just yet, only because I have the copyright going through.
Of course.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
I mentioned to you a little bit earlier already.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for the week,
Yes.
Just so, yeah. So now you know, So I'm really excited for that to happen. I'm chomping at the bit for that. So, all right, Drunken Cryptids. I know we took a long way to get around.
We did.
Drunken Cryptids.
That's cool. Yeah.
But so 2020 hit, and the job I was working at, I was only seeing my kids 2 nights a month.
Yeah.
And I had enough, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm a disabled veteran. I'm getting extra amount of money. I can afford to take some time off. I'm going to take some time off. I'm going to do this. And I did. And it was being retired for a little bit was probably the best thing in the world I've ever done. I highly recommend it for everybody. Yeah, I can't wait to retire again, which I won't because I'll be doing this stuff. I mean, but when you love what your work, it's not really work.
Mm-hmm.
So the little dive bar down the street from where I live, I started going down there and hanging out. And in the corner, me and a couple of guys would start talking one night about paranormal and cryptids. And, I told the full story of what happened to me, and they would tell stories. And we started doing this like every night. And the bartender, she goes, Matthew, you just start a podcast.
Yeah.
And I went, what's a podcast? No idea what a podcast was in 2020.
Right.
None. I thought it was like the little YouTuber guys playing games or anything. I mean, nothing. I mean, they're doing great. But now I'm like, I don't know anything about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, so it kind of hung there. But, the aha story is what we call it, stuck with me. And it does. There's not a day that goes by I don't think back to that day in August, that night in August.
Yeah.
There really isn't a day still. And it weighed on me. And so me and Jacob were talking one night at the bar, having a couple drinks. And he goes, here, listen to some podcasts. And I was like, okay, so how do I listen to a podcast? I mean, I'm like, I configure Amazon Music. Okay. And that's not text. Thank you, Tommy. I love you. That's why I have Tommy. Like, how the other podcasts go, hey, why don't you try this? I'm like, hang on a second. Let me write that down. I have no idea what you just said to me.
Yeah.
Hey, Tommy?
Yeah.
But so he showed me, and I was like, okay. So I found Sasquatch Chronicles.
Mm-hmm.
I started digging through that one. And there was one encounter where this law enforcement guy in California had an encounter with something walking up and just disappeared. And I went, that sounds real familiar.
Right.
Okay. And then there was another one, a big rock's being thrown. I was going, okay, yeah, everybody knows about the rock thing. Well, okay. But kind of disappeared. I was going, all right. So I reached out to Wes, who's the host of Sasquatch Chronicles, and I sent him an email and said, hey, this is who I am. Had this really weird encounter, 2002. I can't tell you if it was Sasquatch related or not. I don't know. If you want more information or something, let me know. And he, emailed me back about a week later and goes, hey, thanks for, reaching out. And yeah, man, here's my phone number. No, cool. All right. So give him a phone call and we talked for about 45 minutes about the encounter. And he goes, man, I have no idea. Come on the show.
Yeah.
Okay. So that gave me the bug.
Yeah.
And so I went on the show and I was like, okay, that was kind of fun. That was a lot of fun to do that.
Right.
And then, I was like, well, maybe I should. And I was at the apartment complex at the time and Maddie was my neighbor. We were down at the pool and he's like, do it. Come on, dude, do it. And I ended up moving to a house and was down the street and he was over, come on, dude, do it. And I had, by this point in time, I was listening to like Cryptids of Corn, Professionals, Uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Those are my big ones that I was listening to at the time. And I was like, okay. And on one of the shows, they were talking, if you're going to start a podcast. So if you're going to start a podcast, the first thing you guys want to do is get a name. Yeah. When you find the name, make sure nobody else has the name. Because there's a lot of stories out there. Other podcasts will tell you they started their show already and then they launched it with a name. Come to find out, somebody else already had the name.
Yeah.
Do you know how many tinfoil podcasts are out there?
I can imagine a lot.
There's a lot. And unfortunately, Tinfoil Tales, Brandon there, he's in Indiana.
Yeah.
He said, I had this. He goes, I had everything, but somebody came up, they changed from Tales to something else, and they're in Australia. Mm. And they do a totally different genre. And he goes, so I'll get emails from these from Australia asking about cases else. Or something. He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to recover that SEO too, because like if people are searching for, let's say tinfoil, right, as a name for a podcast, they found one, they really liked it, but they didn't subscribe or they heard about it, and now they search for it on Apple podcast or whatever, but a tinfoil came up, but they didn't know if that was the one or not, but that was the first one they saw, so they got on it instead of your show that they were looking for.
Exactly.
So like it's so hard to recover from that.
So again, Tinfoil Tales with Brandon.
Yeah.
Brandon. So if y'all looking for yeah. So he's a really good guy. Brandon's he's a great guy. I had a chance to visit with him last night, and then Codex of Curiosities, they're in Mexico, and that was a fun as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the name is important for your show.
Yes.
All right. I love trivia, and we would go do trivia. The place around here, they'll like, okay, we're doing trivia night. Come on out, bring your team and everything. Yeah. Phones on the table, you can't touch your phones. And I always want a team name. And I always try and tie in with something like Bigfoot or Sasquatch all the time. I'm always trying to do something, for the names, even before podcasting or anything. And so it was a group of guys, and we had like 4 pitchers of beer on the table and our mugs and everything. We looked like a bunch of drunkens, honestly.
Yeah.
And Ellie goes, so what's y'all's team name? And I went, Drunken Cryptids. And I went, that's the podcast.
Yeah.
And so I made sure I got the name. All right, Drunken Cryptids. Okay, got it. And so when, Maddie came over one night and he's like, hey, you want to do it? I said, okay, all right, you talked me into it. And ran to his car, has his laptop waiting. He was ready for it. Comes on and opens up the laptop. He goes, okay, what do you want name? I said, Drunken Cryptids. And he goes, all right, you own the .com. And I went, what? So no one had thought of this before. So I have drunkencryptids.com. I mean, it's, so we have it on X. We've got it on Instagram, YouTube, obviously, Facebook. TikTok. Yeah, I do the TikTok. So look, follow me. I appreciate it. Yeah. I don't get on there a lot because technology. And if you do go on there, it's going to be me going, I'm thinking the Dogman might be needing a flea collar or something. So, but I put a lot of information about the show on TikTok as well. I got a lot of good followers. They'll interact back with me. I tried doing a live one, doing a meet and greet at the Censored Monkey. And I was like, oh, we can't drink beer. We can't drink beer on these things. Okay, I'm going to turn this off. So, but so that's where the name came from. And the original idea was, all right, well, Ty, I'm here having a Yingling. What kind of beer are you having? Or what are you drinking? I was like, there's a lot of shows doing that already. So I want them to get away from that. Mm-hmm. And got away from it. We don't drink my parents are like going, is that all y'all do is when you do a podcast, you're drinking beer? I said, honestly, I'm drinking coffee or I'm having water.
Yeah.
I really am. Yeah. There's been a few, we've done in-house ones where there's no video. And my favorite one was Todd Neese. Todd Neese, great researcher, 30 years, moved from Oregon here to Arkansas. He was at the table with us at Arcast. He came down, he came to my house to the outdoor studio, and we were recording. And while we're talking, we decided to have a couple of beers. And we had almost a 4-hour episode. I broke up the 2 parts. And you can tell from the beginning to the end, we started off pretty well sober.
Yeah.
And we were kind of feeling pretty good by the end of it because we're laughing a lot more than
Sure.
anything. And that was a really fun episode to do.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, so Drunken Cryptids, I mean, it's, it stands out.
It does. Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
It's awesome. Have you always been a talker or did you have to work your way into it?
All right. So this makes everybody laugh. No, I had to work my way into it years ago. I had a job for a vacuum company.
Okay.
That goes door to door when I first got out of the military.
Yeah.
When they say, you got out of the military and everybody's going to come hire you, they're going to be like, I'm expecting employers beat down my door. Come work for my company. You're going to be great.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Everybody wants to hire a vet.
No. They say they do and then they do. It looks good on paper because they get it looks great on paper.
It's a great commercial too.
The government goes, hey, look, look, we're hiring veterans. Oh, okay. We're going to, knock off. Yeah. Anyways, that's a whole nother topic. But this company hired me. I needed a job. And I was like, all right, I'll stick around for a little bit. And I guess I had a knack for talking and for sales. Mm-hmm. But I hated it because I felt dirty doing it.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, we're going to put you in the recruiting side. And I went, I don't want to do the recruiting side. I feel like I'm lying to people. I'm going to tell people I'm paying them $400 a week to shampoo carpets. Technically, it's right. But when I break up the unit and all of a sudden people are going, oh, I was like, I felt dirty.
Yeah.
So about less than a year into the company, we went to a conference in Cleveland, and me and two other guys, one from California, one from Topeka, we got together that night in a hotel bar. The story starts in a bar.
Yeah.
Southern Marines got started, right, guys? And well, yeah, my Marine brothers. But we got talking, and Freddie from California, he was a computer whiz, man. He was all about it. And that morning, we all met for breakfast. He goes, y'all check this out. Mm-hmm. It was a new recruiting concept. And me and Brandon, who was from Topeka, we're both like, oh, dude, that's awesome. Make me a copy. So we got, we made our copies and we went to our distributors and we said, hey, we want to try this. And it was an awesome approach. Hey, this is who right off the bat. Hey, welcome. Hi, man. Thanks for coming in today. I appreciate it. And I'm Matthew. And, this is the company. This is who we are. This is what we sell. This is what we're doing. I got more responses that way, more honesty that way.
Yeah.
Better candidates coming in, better sales, higher sales.
Yeah.
People coming in knowing what they're getting into. And especially down here in the South, people respect honesty more than anything down here in the South. If you tell them, hey, look, this is a company, I've probably heard bad things about us, but man, give us a shot. You want to come on board and work for us? Man, we'll give you a shot too.
Right.
And so, they started making me speak, give speeches, do presentations, get up and talk. And I'd always get nervous before every single orientation. Then I was being paid to go and talk to sales rallies and get people excited to go out and go sell. And I was like, I never thought I'd be doing this. And it was a lot of fun until the economy tanked in 2000. Started going down in 2008.
Yeah.
I left there in 2010 and went to work for Schwann's. So, ran routes after that. So that's what I've been doing ever since. Yeah. Well, I left Schwann's in 2020 and then started with the Porta Potty Company in 2021. And it's a great company. The management there they support me 100% what I'm doing. They love the success. They were not happy with me going to take a week off of work to go film at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. But they supported me with it. And then, because we got the emails wrong for the award for the RCast. We found that Sunday.
Yeah, I can't remember what the deal was with that. I tried getting a hold of you guys through several different ways. I can't remember, but I guess the email off of the website, I think is originally how I tried to contact you. And then I ended up having to use Facebook Messenger and contacting somebody.
I wonder if other people have had that problem too. I might have the emails from the website, see how that works. We just redid the website about 4 months ago. So
Okay.
Yeah. But no, so they were so excited when I said, hey, I just won an award for best documentary in Arkansas. And they were like, oh, that's awesome. I was like, oh, so y'all aren't mad at me for taking off work to go do this? No, go.
Please accept your flowers. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, thank you. Appreciate it. So I did a parody commercial for the company. And, our parent company is based in Nashville. And they get a kick out of it. Talking about Bigfoot, How come we can't find scat out when we're researching porta potties?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
Lots of fun.
It is. It's been
awesome.
a fun. It's been a fun ride. Like I said, last year, and this is for everybody trying to get a podcast going, I guess, is one, don't give up.
Yeah.
I hit that dark spot, and it was a really, really, really dark time honestly, May was really rough. It really was for us. And I say us, I mean me. And I mean, I probably hit one of the darkest points of my life.
Yeah.
At that time. And through the, God or everything, just kind of, man, I've won an award. I've been in a documentary. I've got a chance to meet researchers. I've talked to people that I listen to and, in this field and look up to, and they're coming down here to meet me.
Yeah.
I've got, researchers across the country. I've now got one around the world. I got this guy in India who's got a whole bunch of research, and we're trying to get together for an episode. And with the time differences, and in India, their internet's not how we have it set up here. So you have to work with the time that people are in bed, but yet he has to work.
Yeah.
And you have to have me awake, and you have to. So we tried to do one, and he goes, "Can we do it later? The traffic is really high right now for the internet." And Jacob was having a hard time understanding him. He was like, "What do you say?" He's like, "He's talking about the internet traffic." That's why he's coming in, sporadic. And he goes, "Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people online over there at the same time.
Yeah.
Like
it
they
slows
have
down.
It slows everything down.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, but and he's reaching out to me, wanting to share and me to discuss with him some new theories and thoughts that we have on that ties into other research, which is ironic that I've been researching into this thing of infrasound. Todd Neese has been researching infrasound as well. So we're both not knowing each other, researching the same idea.
Yeah.
And when we got together for the episode, I was going, "Hey," it's kind of like that, the monster, "Hey,"
right,
kind of thing, which, Todd Neese went to a different direction with it than I was going. And that's the cool thing about being in this field is it's like, oh, I never thought of that concept. And I was like, well, I never thought of that one.
Right.
So we're merging ideas right now. And Todd Neese is really huge, but underground in the research community. He was an understudy of Peter Byrne, who was one of the godfathers of modern day, Sasquatch research. And when Peter Byrne passed away, Todd Neese ended up with all of his research notes. And
didn't know that.
Yeah. So Todd will still, he'll come on the phone and he'll be like, "Hey, well, what do you know about this?" And I go, "Well, I know enough to BS my way around the water cooler.
Yeah.
What do you know? What do you got?" And we spent one night, 2.5 hours. I was like, "Dude, we should have recorded this. This would have been a great episode." And
Live research.
Yeah. And he goes, "I don't."
Really?
He goes, "I don't want this to go public right now." I was like, "Really?" He goes, "No, you and me will do it."
Yeah.
But I was like, "Okay." So we've got, through Peter Byrne's research, and Peter Byrne, without the age of the internet or anything, we've got a really interesting, crazy theory. And he was talking, and I started doing my digging into on the phone for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And we connected so many dots. So
right.
It involves, I'll just mention one name, Wilford Brimley. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
one.
Okay. Yeah. Seems like I've heard that name before.
Yeah, diabetes.
Sure. Oh, okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yep. So I'll just kind of throw that hint out there.
Yeah. Okay. Not too much, so we can come back and show that. I do want to bring up your other theory about Arkansas and why there might not be as much paranormal or supernatural,
No, I think there's more.
You think there's more because of it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we were talking about why is there not as much like research and more focus, I guess, from like the TLC, those types of shows, come down here and to do more research in Arkansas. Of course, we got like Dover Lights. We've got plenty of sightings of different things, the Falk Monster and stuff. That's why I got the T-shirt on.
I'll be at the conference next month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never actually been. My brother.
I've never been either.
My brother's a big fan. So he always stops by on the way up through Texas and gets me a shirt. But yeah. So you had a theory of like why there might be more supernatural, activity in Arkansas, and it's because I want you to talk about
the quartz.
That. The quartz.
Arkansas is full. I mean, you can go dig in my backyard and dig up quartz.
Yeah.
I mean, you could dig in your backyard and dig up quartz.
Right.
I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. And I love the tourist look because you walk into like a little tourist gas station. And like, buy her quartz. You go to Hot Springs, you just go in your backyard.
Oh, they're everywhere there. Yeah.
It's everywhere. Throughout history, the millennium is quartz has always been used as a magical, fingerprint is a magical element. stores energy, allegedly does, is for purifying purposes. There's so many different uses. Again,
Watches.
He's a watches. Depends on who you talk to, though.
Yeah.
Right. And the theory is it traps energy. And in Arkansas, everybody's got a haunted house story in Arkansas. Everybody does. And whether they want to admit it or not, everybody has a haunted house story in Arkansas. There's everywhere, around every corner in Arkansas, there's an urban legend. Around every corner in Arkansas, there is a creature. Around every corner in Arkansas, there's something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just, we're overlooked. And I think we're overlooked because on the map, we're small. We got Texas right beside us. We got Louisiana down south of us. Even with that, believe it or not, it's considered more Louisiana than it is Arkansas.
Yeah.
And then we've got the, I'm going to get yelled at for this one, the Ozark Howler.
Yeah.
Up there. I mean, it gets overlooked a lot. There is even there's an Ozark centipede.
I've never heard of that.
I know. I mean, sir, there's an Ozark centipede. It's this giant centipede. And there's accounts and reports of the centipede like eating people's pets. Oh, huge, like this 8 foot long centipede crawling out.
Yeah.
We've got mounds. We actually have mounds here in Arkansas. And again, overlooked. And what's funny about the mounds is they just changed in 2021 from Toltec to the Plum Bayou of a tribe that nobody's ever heard of before. Yeah, this is a Plum Bayou tribe. Who?
So they changed the name.
Yeah.
To Plum Bayou.
Yeah, I thought it was Toltec. I went out there like a year and a half ago going to Toltec.
Yeah.
It was like Plum Bayou. I was like, what's Plum Bayou? I mean, did they move? I mean, I think did they move the mounds? I mean,
interesting.
And got out there and I asked the ranger guys like Plum Bayou, and he goes, yeah, changed the name back in 2021, and everything in the office is all Plum Bayou, and this is the tribe that was here, and this is what they did. I was going, this isn't what I came to a couple of years ago.
Right.
Toltec is what the original name was related down to Central America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the running theory was they came up through here and they had built these mounds.
Right.
And the lady, and I'm going to yell at that for not getting her name right, who actually owned the property at first. They were digging up bones. They were digging up giant bones.
Yeah. Who's doing the yelling at you in all these times?
The people in the comments.
Just everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I don't know
if you had specifically somebody in mind,
well, I like to have I like to have a notes because I have a good memory and I can describe events. But when you go, and what was the name?
Yeah.
Mary.
Yeah.
So I'm horrible with names. I have to go like, what was her name again? So we go somewhere. I go, Tommy, what was her name again? Or I go, Jacob, what was her name again? Jacob goes, okay, that's John.
You're my human index.
John?
Yeah.
John. John, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
But so I apologize, guys. Lots of loud rock music when I was a kid. But so she originally owned the property, and she was in touch with the Smithsonian, which is another evil entity. And
the Smithsonian is an evil entity?
Oh, yeah. So if you look at the history, I'll just even talk about giant bones in America. Through the 1800s, farmers were digging up these bones, and they were uncovering giant skeletons. They were being reported in the newspaper. There was pictures of it, and the Smithsonian came in, and all of a sudden, what bones? I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
The Native Americans here talked about giants. Talked about red-headed giants, so they actually had to fight. One of the reasons why they raise their hand up and say, in greeting, is to show they have 5 fingers because the giants had 6. And so when they would raise their hand up, they showed they had 5.
What?
Yeah,
I've never heard this before.
That's the reason why the hand comes up to show they have 5.
Okay.
Every giant skeleton has been allegedly uncovered has had 6 fingers. It's mentioned in the Old Testament.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why,
So there's surely got to be some sort of evidence somewhere that these skeletons were being dug up, right?
There's only the old articles and old letters that were written between the lady and the Smithsonian and this lady in Arkansas to another professor somewhere up north, and who was also relaying to the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian came down, and asked her okay, this is part of the Toltec tribe. This is what we're finding evidence of. And then all of a sudden, that's how I got named Toltec. That's why everybody started referring to it as Toltec. And then in 2021, they went, no, there's no Toltec. Here's Plum Bayou. Yeah.
Interesting.
So an
wow.
actual,
Plot thickens.
actual, and again, Arkansas, again, you guys, this was fascinating about Arkansas. So we have these mounds, again, which are, well, from where we're at, it's about 30 minutes away from us.
Yeah.
20 minutes from where I live, but 30 minutes from here in your studio. Nobody goes there. And when you do go there, it's a really neat place to go check out. It's kind of serene. And they're going to lay it out, and they're going to tell you what they found, and they're going to show you this, they're going to show you that. And if you're kind of smart and you can kind of read between the lines, you can look in and go, man, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Their timeline doesn't make sense. The timing of it doesn't make sense. Why? It doesn't go into describing why the mounds were built, why they were structured the way they're structured. And it's not just Arkansas. So from here up through the Ohio Valley are all these mounds. I know. And again, it's overlooked. So a lot of it is a lot of the paranormal, the cryptid, or even a lot of our historical stuff that we research, and you're doing that right now on the series, gets overlooked. And it's either from what mainstream education is trying to tell us, what mainstream media is trying to tell us. And I tell everybody too, even with, encounters or whatnot, hey, you be the judge, but don't judge off of what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Do your research, dig into it, look into it, go, well, hold on, you're right. That doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then dig even deeper. Yeah. And then dig even deeper.
Yeah.
Then try and find out, all right, would that really happen? Because if you look at, and this was fascinating. So if you look at the history of the 1800s and then look at the 1900s and how differently history went real quick, really quick. There's a lot of theories out there called the Great Reset happened to where, we had the Great Chicago Fire.
Sure.
We had all these other major cities had fires.
What were we resetting? The world?
So, apparently it's called the Great Reset. It says happened before time throughout history.
Okay.
Other resets have happened.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of going, and again, I'll play with conspiracy theories. I really will. I'll play with them. I'll jump in and dig into them. Look like, flat Earth. I'll go and go, let me play. Oh, wow.
Okay.
Y'all are,
yeah. Huh.
Yeah. I got to get away from the flat Earth guys.
Yeah.
And I've got a dear friend of mine who is all about the world being flat. And I give him. I
can kind of sympathize with it. Not that I'm about to say that I believe in flat Earth or anything, but like I do kind of sympathize with those guys because it does come from a place of we're not being taught everything about history that we should know about history, or like some of the key pieces of information that we should know. Like you mentioned, the podcast series we're doing right now on Wally Jones. And so for the past year, I've been meeting with experts on Black history, and then also going back through, microfilms in the library, looking at newspapers that have been restored from the 1800s on newspapers.com and subscriptions and things like that, and going back and do a genealogy and all these different, looking up as much old paperwork as I possibly can. And like, I'm learning so much about it. Cause I remember like when we talked about the Jim Crow South, in like social studies, there was probably 2 paragraphs on it and a couple of pictures, and that was it. And we weren't told about all the different things in like the Reconstruction era, what the Republican and the Democratic Party looked like back then, and what the Civil War was actually like, what it was like, and about what recession was about, and that Arkansas wanted not to just join the Confederate Army, but it wanted to be its own like state. Its own country, you know what I mean? Like Arkansas wanted to be on its own. Yeah. Yep. Texas the same way. Like some of these states around here. It's so crazy to think about that. But so like when you start digging in, I feel like, in like Avengers Endgame, right? When Ant-Man, they're discussing like the time theories and all that stuff. And he was like, Back to the Future. They're like, that doesn't work because and he's like, the Back to the Future is bullshit. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about like when I read about this stuff and I think about history that we were being taught in school. So I do sort of sympathize with the people that are like the flat earthers, I guess, and like people that kind of delve into those sort of dark holes of, conspiracy theories, because you don't know what to believe anymore, because you're told one thing and you accept it as truth for so long, and then you become an adult and you do any amount of research on it. Yeah. You find out, I was lied to or just not told the truth. It was held back from me.
So on that token too, I'll do the history and the flat earth and I'll merge them together real quick. And this is a theory. All right. It doesn't cost that much money just to put into a history book 2 paragraphs about Jim Crow.
Exactly.
It doesn't cost that much money not to put stuff into a history book. It costs a lot of money to duplicate video of a spherical world from outer space. A lot of money.
Yeah.
So what is the benefit of the shadow governments or the shadow people, and I'm talking about, the government hiding that the fact that the world is flat.
Yeah.
What is the benefit of them not telling us it's flat?
Yeah. What is the benefit?
So when that's why when I dig into conspiracies, I'll look into that. So what's the benefit of it?
Right.
And then of course the big one to look into is money.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to throw a whole bunch of money at NASA
Sure.
to keep us in the dark of the world being flat.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to.
Right.
Especially if you go back to JFK. Of course, we could tie into JFK was assassinated because he was going to discover the world was flat. But JFK was pushing hard for space exploration, and going to space and finding out what's up there. And yeah, we're not going to throw money at that.
Yeah.
We're not. There's too many people who have been to space now to come back and going, yeah, the world's round.
Yeah.
It's really round. It really is. What they look at is they look at the map.
Yeah.
They look at a map, a flat piece of paper map. So how do you take a round thing and make it flat?
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be changes of size. There's going to be.
Yeah.
They're like, well, you look at the size of Greenland on a map as opposed to not. I was like, no, they put it there for a reason, not for size. You can't do it for size at all. So for a flat map, and then you can't, and they'll go, well, you can't make it round. No, because it was designed to be flat for the map of the world. Now look at a globe. And they go, yeah, on a globe. I was like, again, it's not the scale. And that's what they want. They want to know why that the maps aren't the scale. They want to know why it's not there. I'm like, well, you're not traversing from Greenland to Australia and realizing that, okay, it's taking you longer. And they'll go on the flight. So they'll be like, okay, well, these, southern flights have to cross the equator, but northern flights never cross the equator. And I'm going, that's because they're north of the equator. But okay. So, but some of their arguments are valid too, though.
Yeah.
And I've listened to going, valid argument. That one I can't counter.
Yeah.
But on the overall.
Yeah, for sure. So not knowing what to believe and being able to conform these sort of theories and stuff. Yeah, it's crazy.
Because I've never been to space. So
I haven't either.
I can't personally tell you that the world's round, but I can tell you that there's a lot more evidence of it being round.
Right. Yeah.
Versus it being flat.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And then they want to tie in Antarctica.
And for, exactly. And for the government and for, NASA to be doing some of the things that they've done, historically over time, trying to reach out. I want to do another limited podcast series on this one particular thing. But there were two space shuttles that were sent out, and I cannot remember when it was. I think it was in the 60s or 70s. Does that
space shuttle era started in the
so,
late 70s or in the early 80s.
So Carl Sagan, if you know who that is.
Yes.
Okay, Cosmos, right? He was put in charge by NASA to curate a collection of sounds of people talking and songs and things like that sort of gave an overall, if this was your first impression of humanity, like
the Voyager mission.
Yes, Voyager. Thank you. So they put those on two, gold
plated records.
Gold plated records. That's right. And then sent them out on those space shuttles in case that aliens existed or some other sort of creature out there. If there was population out there in the universe, that they would find it. And they went all the way to the links of, well, if this is a record, they're probably not going to have a record player. Well, the chances that they have a record player, their technology might not be there, or it may be way more advanced, or they never covered record players. So they shipped it on a record player with the needle already in place. But just in case that they didn't, if the other beings encountered it and didn't know how to hit play or whatever, they engraved these like bumps on top of the record, because they said, well, at the very least, if there is an intelligent species out there, that they would at least have discovered that some atomic particles are the smallest form of matter, right? And so I can't remember how they did it. I'll have to look at it again. But they formed, it's almost like Morse code, the way that they formed the bumps on the top of it. And so they formed it in certain formations to sort of give directions on how to play the record on top of the record. And it's still out there.
It's still traveling through space.
It's still traveling through space. Yep. And because,
I want to say it's outside our little solar system now. I think
right. And we're out of contact with it, right?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah.
And so us from Earth, being able to look up into space, even with these, really powerful telescopes and everything, we're seeing light years and years and years ago of what space was like, rather than real time space, because light is traveling, that far away to us from out there.
The sun's like 8 minutes away from us.
So we have no doubt. Maybe they've already intercepted it. Maybe they thought, but like that's the discussions that like NASA and the government are having.
Well, that brings in the new, the UAPs that are coming out now, and all these disclosures and the Senate hearings, and the government coming out and going officially admitting that there's UFOs.
Yeah,
they're changing the name. They change the narrative. So if they come out and say UFOs are real, now everybody that had UFO encounters and abduction stories and everything that got made fun of, chastised, they owe them an apology. But they go UAPs. Now see, the wording is different. Yeah. So you had a UFO encounter, but we're talking about UAPs.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See how they changed the wording, and then even over Jersey at Christmas time, all these drones.
Yes.
So now we're changing from UAP to drones.
That's still so confusing. I gave up on it because I was just like, what? Okay, so all these drones are flying around New Jersey, and then they started showing up elsewhere, and I was like, okay, it could be just people messing around. You know what I mean? Then they were like, the Department of Defense was like, we're investigating it. It's like, well, if you really thought it was a threat or something, you would have shot it down immediately. Like, there's no way that you would just let it go and be like, oh yeah, we're looking into it.
Well, do you know that allegedly Ronald Reagan had a shoot on sight order for UFOs over our country?
No, I did not.
Yeah, allegedly he had a shoot on sight. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we're getting lots of reports of these recovery teams.
Yeah.
That were recovering. Because the Reagan was like, I don't give a shoot on sight.
That's insane.
But what's funny about Reagan too, though, is he even came out and said it would take an actual alien invasion to unite the world.
Well, yeah. That's like the cult of personality thing, where if you
I think it's 1986 speech or something like that is when he brought
unite people over a common enemy, and then we get Independence Day.
No, yeah, exactly. Welcome to Earth.
Yeah, welcome to Earth.
I'm not gonna lie. If I see a little gray, that should be the first thing I say, and I'm going to do exactly what Will Smith does. Welcome to Earth, and I'm going to punch him out.
Welcome to Earth. Yeah.
The little grays are evil.
Yes, we learned that in Mars Attacks.
I love that movie.
I do too.
But again, what you brought that up too, though. So they've done so much soft disclosure when it comes to UFOs and aliens and even Sasquatch. Making fun of Sasquatch with beef jerky without naming the company's name.
Yeah.
Dr.
Squatch. So,
exactly. Yeah. I use it. I'm
not sponsored.
Sponsor.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored, but you can sponsor me. Dr. Squatch.
Sponsor him.
Same thing, Black Rifle
That'd
Coffee.
be on brand. Why wouldn't they do that?
Exactly. I'll be honest, I love their soap. I really do.
Okay.
I'll give them a shout out. Y'all rock. Keep it up.
Yeah.
The Star Wars brand's awesome. But you can put Sasquatch on anything. It's going to sell.
Yeah.
You can put an alien on anything and it's going to sell.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, you can still put the Loch Ness Monster, which I think is eels, by the way. I don't think the Loch Ness Monster is, I think it's eels. I think it's giant eels.
Like giant eels?
Yeah. But I'm not talking like, they're going to roar on up and, eat you. But the real sightings that people are having is a snake-like serpentine actual movement in the water.
Right.
Which is an eel. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I think it is.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, that's where my mind goes.
Yeah.
No. So, because
absolutely could be, yeah.
They've never found a giant dinosaur in the water. I'm just saying. But they have found eels.
Supposedly, a couple of days ago, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a new report of Nessie that they supposedly got a new shot of it. But
was it Nessie or was it Champ?
Supposedly, I don't know. Oh yeah, you know what? It was Champ.
It was Champ. Yeah, right. I saw the one about Champ.
Yes.
There's a new one about Champ.
Yeah. Crazy.
I love Champ.
Yeah.
Again, but back to the Arkansas. But Arkansas, though, again, we took a long way around it. I apologize. This is just fun. I love doing this.
Yeah. I have severe ADHD, so we're just going around.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. Okay. It's fun.
It's how my show goes.
Yeah.
I'm like, we'll be on one topic, and then next we're all the way over here. Like last night, we were talking about Dogman and Bigfoot. Then we're talking about football. I mean, like that. But Arkansas, I think, gets overlooked only because of our location. There's bigger states around us, and the worldview of Arkansas is horrible, which is sad because the people in Arkansas, I've been here for going on 21 years now, and I'm proud to call Arkansas home. I brag about living in Arkansas to everybody. I mean, when I'm doing my show, I'm here in Arkansas. This is where I'm at. I am in Arkansas. The people here in Arkansas are great. I love the people here. You know, my family back home in Utah, they're all like, no, you're going to move back to Utah? No, absolutely not. Why? When, my little old lady neighbor, who knows I have fire pits and everything, is waving at me all the time. And she tells me, she goes, me and my husband just love you guys' little, every time you guys are out there and you're so respectful with the music. I'm going, well, y'all could come over,
Is she sincere about it?
She's really sincere.
Oh, okay.
And I
She's
felt
like,
bad for her.
I really love when you guys are out there.
No, she was, and I felt bad because
Yeah.
I was fighting with my lawnmower. And when you're fighting the lawnmower and it's 100 degrees and you're fighting to get started and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was cursing and I was not being nice to my lawnmower. And this sweet old lady on the other side of the fence, quietly, I'm sorry you're having a hard time with your mower. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. Ma'am, I apologize. And she started laughing. She goes, my husband's the same way. And we had a good conversation. And she goes, you were so nice and respectful over there. And, we get a kick out. You got the lights on. We turn the lights on and we sit out back and we just kind of enjoy your music. And sometimes we can hear y'all talk. She goes, but you turn it down when it gets later. I was like, well, yes, ma'am. I mean, I don't want to bother y'all.
Yeah.
And then the other neighbors right next to me, she, during the first snowstorm we had, their daughter wanted to come over really bad. And so, they came over and had a fire going and I had my daughter and she goes, so I got to ask, do you do a podcast?
Mm-hmm.
And I went, yeah, I run a podcast. She goes, yeah, we'll be peeking out the window. And we're like, I think he's doing a podcast out there. And I was like, yeah, so I'm doing a podcast.
So you really do film outside?
Yeah. So I do have
it. Or record outside.
Yeah, record outside. Yeah. We've done some video outside, and it's my little happy place. I call it the Tavern. It's like in a little outdoor bar and set the equipment up.
Right.
And, record. I like being out in nature. It's more of kind of a natural thing. I like having the fire pit going when I do.
Yeah.
That's what the show's about, is to be able to have people come on, feel comfortable, because a lot of these topics are really hard.
Yeah.
For a lot of people. It leaves marks on them. I mean, you were just saying yourself, your encounters.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you said you're 40 years old and you could picture it clear as day.
Right.
I had a guy that touched one in upstate New York picking berries, and he wouldn't go out into the woods for over 15 years.
Yeah.
And he goes, every time he goes now, he's like, real skittish.
Yeah.
I had another guy who years ago saw something. He knows what he saw. He knows it's not what everybody else told him that it was. He knows it was a Dogman. It was an 100% down to.
What is a Dogman? You got to explain that to me.
So a Dogman has been featured throughout history. Dogman has been around longer in stories than Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Actually, Sasquatch is featured all over the world. Every continent has Sasquatch.
Okay. Yeah.
Including Antarctica.
Sure.
There's been some sightings of Sasquatch in Antarctica.
Okay.
So, Dogman, though, so I did an episode on the Dogman last year, and I dug into it, and I wanted to get to the origins of everything. And it starts off with, oh my God, I know this too. I'm about to kick myself. Guilty mission.
Okay.
So the first written story of anything of a dog man, wolf man, whatever, is Gilgamesh is hit on by this goddess. And he shoots her down. He goes, no, because the last guy you were with, you turned him into a wolf and his hounds killed him. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
So then for the Greeks had everybody they call him I'm going to screw the name, King Lycan. So King Lycan was a proud king. He was doing a good job. He was running a city well. He was doing what he was supposed to be doing. And Zeus decided to show up. You just sneak on in, just pop on in, check out, see what's going on. Well, King Lycan finds out that Zeus is here. And he goes, I'm going to trick him. It's funny how all these stories go. You're going to trick this guy or something. And so he kills his youngest son and serves him for dinner. Zeus takes one bite, puts the fork down, and he goes, your whole family's cursed. You are cursed. Kills all of his sons in front of him.
Yeah.
Then he turns him into a wolf and makes him... they go into, I don't have the notes in front of me, but they go into detail how King Lycan transformed into a wolf. And Zeus resurrected his young son, who took over the kingdom and made the kingdom better. And King Lycan is known as, in the werewolf community, as the first original werewolf.
Oh, okay.
But that's the werewolf, right?
So that's where lycanthrope comes from.
Exactly.
Okay, got you.
Now you're catching on.
Yeah.
The Egyptians, though, this is where the Egyptians don't get enough credit for a lot of their mythology, for a lot of their history, for a lot, actually. We have the Rosetta Stone, which is what helped us translate for the hieroglyphics and how to translate a lot of this.
I was going to ask, is that what's on your necklace?
No, that's actually the Viking compass.
Okay.
So as long as you wear it, you'll never be lost. As long as you have the compass, you'll never be lost. So, but the Rosetta Stone, that's what helped, all the translations and figure out what the hieroglyphs are saying. And I think that a lot of what we're reading the hieroglyphics is mistranslated. Sure. I really, really do. But they actually had, if we were talking about this off air, I probably would be like, yeah, it's this God right here. Y'all know the jackal-headed God. It's not a jackal.
Not Ra.
No, not Ra. Oh, it's featured everywhere. But it's
Egyptian, you said?
It's Egyptian.
Osiris. Is that Osiris?
No, it's a jackal. It's jackal-headed God.
I just remember from
if I had my phone, I'd pull it up real quick. But they're going to find out it wasn't a jackal. It's actually a wolf.
Yeah.
So there was actually, and it was written in, there was a town full of these dog-headed people.
Yeah.
And they actually protected the northern kingdom of Egypt from an attack from, I want to say Somalia, from those people. They actually came in and they protected them and stuff. Marco Polo talks about encountering an island full of these dog-headed beings. St. Christopher was known as a dog-headed man before he was baptized and transformed into a mortal.
Oh, wow.
And this guy was being huge. And yeah, he came out of Syria and he from this tribe of dog people. And that's what they are. They're dog people. They're dog man. It's like a werewolf that doesn't transform back to a man.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
The legs are backwards like that would be.
Sure.
That's how they're described out there. I have never encountered one.
But they can operate as a human? Like they have intelligence?
It's a dog. They're intelligent. This rumor. Okay. They're rumored. They're allegedly intelligent. They are intelligent. They do hunt. I do think if you see one, there's another one. Same as Sasquatch.
Gotcha.
I don't think there's any not too many lone cryptids out there in the world, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot more of they work together. But dogmen have been featured all the way throughout history, going through, and there's ties into, they think that, they're part of the Nephilim. They're part of the Nephilim bloodline. They think, Sasquatch is rumored to be part of the Nephilim bloodline as well. And I mean, I don't know. I'll just go off of what was described in the Old Testament and none of it. I mean, but I think that's where we get a lot of our minor gods from Zeus and everybody.
Sure.
They're all coming out of the Nephilim. I think that, it is talked about in the Old Testament where you shall worship no other gods other than me. Why would you put that in there if there's only one God?
Yeah.
I just want.
Where are the other ones?
So I think those are the little minor gods and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other show. But the Old Testament's a really big hobby of mine to dig into and to research. And like you were saying, the more you start digging and going down the rabbit hole. Yeah. But so let me ask you, when you were going through the library researching everything, did you not see a weird change from the 1800s, late 1800s to the early 1900s? Did you not see a weird change in how newspaper printing went, how articles are written, what was put out?
Yeah, of course. But I mean, this particular field that I was studying was, Black history in
it's still going to be
late 1800s, which is going to be very different because their
mindset,
Reconstruction period, Jim Crow laws, and all that stuff. Yeah, of course. And so they weren't allowed to be printed into the white papers. You know what I mean? No. Like you would hear stories in the black printed papers, and so that type of thing. But yeah. When we swap over into the 1900s, I see. Yeah, there's a difference in the news in the prints. I don't know. We had some sort of weird cultural shift or something like that. But you can also do it, but just while walking through a cemetery.
Remember?
Yeah, you can walk through a cemetery and do that too. Mm-hmm. Look at the tombstones. The tombstones are yes. They even changed. If it was 1894 and then you go to a 1904, tombstone, totally they're so different. Yeah, it's so strange how that leap.
Yep. Now here's the other funny part too, though. So I use this all the time on my show. I'll talk about Africa for a minute. Okay. So these tribes out in Africa have lived in the same area for eons.
Yeah.
They know what a hippopotamus looks like, right?
Yeah.
They know what a giraffe looks like, right?
Okay.
They know what a crocodile looks like.
Yes.
They know what a snake looks like. They know what a monkey looks like. So they would know what a giant reptile looking creature would look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of our history ideas come from Darwin. honestly. Like I have a hard time. I don't believe in evolution per se, as Darwin would say, that we evolved from this. I think that we've adapted, if that makes sense, because the crocodile has not evolved.
Right.
The shark has not evolved.
Yeah.
Let me just throw that out there.
Yeah.
And that they haven't evolved.
You mean like since?
Yeah. So I think there's adaptability, but we get a lot of our information based upon, we get a lot of our knowledge, I should say, our scientific proof based upon research that was done in the 1800s.
Uh-huh.
So when I bring that up to a point, what you're especially the topic you're researching. So if you read how other people were described as, which we both know was not true about those other people, right?
Mm.
Imagine reading what these guys from London are writing about these tribes in Australia,
Sure.
in Africa,
Yeah.
over here in the New World, over
Right.
down in Central and South America.
Right.
How they're describing them as dumb, they're uneducated.
Yes.
But hold on. So again, so these are people who live on the spot.
Yeah.
They know the area. They fish the area.
Right.
They say, we fish here. You don't go fish there because something will kill you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get these guys come in from, Oxford going, oh, no, you guys are retarded. I know more than you do.
You're obviously not educated. Yeah.
The high mountain gorilla wasn't confirmed to exist until the late 1920s.
Okay.
Let me just throw that out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
The platypus, when it was first brought over to England, they thought it was fake. I mean, for real.
Yeah.
There's no
I
way
believe
that
you.
this creature could exist.
Right.
So when it comes to Sasquatch, why can't it exist?
Yeah.
So my question is, I get asked all the time, well, how do you know it's real? And I fire back, well, how do you know it's not?
Right. Yeah.
They go, well, how can it, disappear? Well, that could be easily written off. How many creatures in the natural world actually can use camouflage?
Right.
So what if Sasquatch actually, because the polar bear is not white. It's got translucent fur.
Right.
So what if half of Sasquatch fur is translucent?
So you don't see that as a form of evolution when a polar bear can be white in the snow?
No, it's adaptation.
Adaptation. Okay.
Yeah. So it's an environmental adaptation.
Okay.
So they had to environmentally adapt.
Sure.
The polar bear is still a bear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a monkey. I don't have a tail. There's no proof that we had tails.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, part of the little squiggly thing in the womb, that's one thing, but we don't have a tail.
Right.
So, that's where I get upset a lot of people and talk about that. And I go, I believe in, because I was a big evolution theorist for a long time. I believe I was going, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Evolution is what took place. It was going on. And then again, started doing my own research going, well, wait a minute. We got crocodiles. They've never evolved. Why wouldn't they evolve? Now, have they environmentally adapted?
Right.
Obviously, they're coming up here to Arkansas.
Yes.
I mean, we get ice up here. What do they do? Have you seen those pictures of the alligator under ice? Creepy.
I haven't
Creepy.
seen those.
That was scaring me. It's just their nose are sticking up.
Oh yeah, I have seen that. Yes.
Scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, in the proof right now is the fact of the matter where they've got the pythons from Florida.
Yeah.
That are out of control.
Yeah.
Not a native species.
Okay.
Okay. Up in the Carolinas. And they've now adapted to the cold and the snow up there so they can survive the winters.
Mm-hmm.
So, environmental adaptation. These creatures will do that.
Yeah.
And they're designed for their environment. But we put a polar bear down here, it's not going to make it.
Right.
Too hot. But it's going to survive up there.
Sure.
Because of, again, the environment. And it's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Polar bears, the biggest bad boy that we have. But their fur is translucent. And that is to help camouflage them in their white environment. So that way they can, hunt easier that way. So what if Sasquatch's fur isn't translucent? Now, all of it, obviously, but enough of it in there to where when you're trying to look at it, it does blend in. And maybe that is one of the reasons that we get some blurred pictures. The other reason I think we get blurred pictures is because you don't walk around in the woods with your phone like this with your camera running 24/7.
Yeah.
And most of your encounters that people have are 15 to 20 seconds long.
Mm-hmm.
So you got your phone in front of you, right?
Yes.
Okay, ready? I'm going to start counting. Get your foot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
On video?
6, 7, 8,
Yeah.
9, gone.
All right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. That quick.
Yeah.
That's how quick an encounter is.
Yeah.
And everybody goes, well, why don't you get a picture of it? My phone was in my back pocket.
Yeah.
Yours was in your lap.
Right.
So within 10 seconds, you were able to get it open
Right.
and up. And you're not shaking.
Yeah.
You're walking through the woods. There's some big creature that's not supposed to exist.
Okay.
Waving at you.
Yeah.
I'm going to wave back first, obviously, because, hey, what's up? And by the time I get, it's gone.
Yeah.
So we've got one picture that we think we caught by accident, and it's kind of blurred up in Bald Knob. Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
That is it. All the times in the woods, like I said, 99% of the time, you're going to get nothing.
I like that theory about the translucent fur, and like that's why you can't really capture it on video, and why it's a little blurry is because the way that, I mean, obviously our devices depend on light in order.
I'll use trail
receiving
cams,
light.
for example,
Yeah.
too. Trail cams are triggered.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So a trail cam has a sensor. Hang on.
Okay. It's getting juiced. It's getting juiced now.
All
There
right,
he is.
so
Okay.
trail cams have a sensor.
Settle in.
And, you know, movement,
Yeah.
camera comes on. All right. So here's the camera right here.
Yeah.
So if I wave my hand like this,
Right.
it's not going to catch my hand going in front of it.
Sure.
It's going to catch what's happening now, whether nothing, right?
Yeah.
But and then it shuts off.
Yeah.
So I'll ask hunters, okay, trail cams. Like, I've never got nothing on my trail cams. And you're right, you have. But how many times have you gone through your video footage, your pictures, whatnot, and there's nothing there?
Yeah.
A lot. Okay, one, I'm not saying it's Sasquatch. Could have been a deer that walked in. Because normally when you
Sure.
catch it, the deer is already into the,
Yeah.
field of view.
Yeah.
It's moved in already. It's halfway through it. And now it's recording it. Right? You'll see when people go to check on their cams and they're slowing down, you'll just catch the tail end of their vehicle. Not the whole vehicle, but the tail end of the vehicle. So a Sasquatch is moving quick enough, like we would just walk past it, it's not going to catch us. And he's not going to look at the trail cam and go, hey.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not going to do that. And on top of that, their populations is a lot lower than deer.
Yeah.
So, and again, I mentioned this. I mentioned armadillos. And Jacob, I make fun of Jacob because we got an expedition with Jacob chasing an armadillo. But you go to the woods, armadillos are real. We know. We see them down on the side of the road. Right? So when you go out in the woods and hike through the woods, how many times do you actually see an armadillo? How many times you actually see, and you will go encounter a raccoon?
Yeah.
Let's see here. How many times are you going to encounter a skunk?
Mm-hmm.
You'll smell them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So look at the number of population. And it's a population number. So the higher the population of that creature, you have the higher chance of encountering it. The
Right.
smaller the number, it's also right place, right time. Not every section of woods has Bigfoot and Dogman in it.
Yeah.
Not every house is haunted.
Yeah.
Not every cemetery. I don't believe cemeteries are haunted at all. To be honest with you, I really don't. I don't think they're haunted.
Yeah.
They're dead already.
Okay.
Cemeteries don't freak me out, but they're not. Now you're going to have hot areas.
Yeah.
Where they are going to move through. They're going to have tribes, are going to have stuff, and those are the areas you want to go investigate.
Mm-hmm.
But you just go in your backyard, chances are you're not going to see one because they're not there.
Right.
So when you tell me, yeah, I go to the woods all the time, I don't see one, I'm like, because he's not there. But then I ask a hunter too. I said, okay, how many times have you shot a deer? And this is Arkansas. We love the deer hunt down here. How many times you hit a deer jumps to the wood line, you follow the blood trail, no deer,
Right.
no blood.
Yeah.
Where'd it go? Did it just heal?
Right.
Just going to wander off? Where'd it go?
So you have an explanation for this?
We hunt the same deer stands.
Okay.
We put corn out.
Yeah.
We bait them in.
Okay.
Nobody's going to admit it, but everybody goes and gets deer corn. Everybody does this. Everybody feeds corn. That's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Hunting, totally different scenario, but the deer know. So if Sasquatch is hunting deers too, they're going to know that. Free meal. If you feed a bear, you start feeding a bear, the bear's going to associate people with food.
Yeah.
Right. So now Sasquatch has figured out, same way as deer have, there's going to be, that looks like a corn thing. Let me go eat. Okay. So again, generational training by the deer. Okay. So yeah, mom did it, dad did it, I'm doing it, grandma did it. You see what I'm saying? So Sasquatch the same way. So if Sasquatch falling into a deer and realizing, ooh, that's going to lure deer in, all I got to do is sit here and wait, and boom, it runs right past me. You will get a lot of hunters will say something moved in the woods. I heard something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just Sasquatch waiting for an opportunity.
Yeah.
They're not going to reach out and grab it in front of you. They're going to wait for it to run off. If you kill it on the spot, yeah, it's your deer. If not, Sasquatches. As if there's a Sasquatch there.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that my theory is, 100% accurate,
Sure.
but I can't come up with another one,
Right.
so yeah.
Okay, that's good. Like, you give me a lot to think about this this whole episode. I was gonna pull something up on my phone because if you remember, like a few weeks back, whenever the snowstorm hit, in Arkansas, and
which one, the snow or ice?
the snow,
Okay.
like the really compounded.
Hit on covers up over the weekend.
Yeah. Where they were telling us to like barricade ourselves because we weren't gonna be able to go anywhere and all that stuff. So like, how thick like the snow got on those days.
Yeah.
And so the back porch of my house, there's like the patio, there's two different levels, right? So you come up on the top level and then you walk down to the lower level, and then there's it's straight off into the backyard, and then like I've got some woods and stuff back there. Okay. I wish I could just easily pull this photo up so I could show you. But anyways, I noticed, so my bedroom window is over the top of like where you step off the porch onto the actual ground, right? Okay. So I noticed when I was looking out at the snow, like it's just perfect white, thick powder. I mean, there was probably 4, 5, 6 inches of snow that was on the ground, and it was on that part of the porch that wasn't covered by the roof. I mean, like there was no disturbance whatsoever.
Serene and beautiful,
except there was 3 or 4 like human-sized footprints off of the porch, like on the ground in the snow, like just perfectly imprinted into the snow, like somebody had just stepped off the back patio, like the concrete part, and then the feet get smaller as it goes towards the woods, and then they just get like really tiny, and then like they disappear into the woods. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life.
That sounds like Faye.
But there was, I mean, the snow around it completely undisturbed. The snow on the actual patio completely undisturbed, and everything. Like I went back after it melted and everything, and tried to see maybe there was like a carve out or something underneath the patio. Nothing. No, like the ground is above. Like there was no holes, nothing in the ground.
That's got a Faye aspect.
So strange. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Arkansas. So I think Arkansas is huge for the Faye folk. I really do. And they've been known to, transform, change their sizes into things. But yeah, if it goes from large, I mean, like normal human size, you said?
Yeah. Yes.
And then got smaller all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
That is Faye. I don't know. Sounds like the Faye.
Yeah, it was so strange. I could see it from the bedroom window, and I was like, that doesn't look right whatsoever. And then that was like, I didn't know if you'd ever heard of anything like that before.
No. See, and that's the cool thing about this. So when you hear something new, like I had Chris, who's one of my investigators now, had a crazy encounter in Bald Knob. And it was so crazy to him, he wanted to sit down and tell me face to face for me to I can look him in the eye. To know that he was telling me the truth, because I do a call in, that's how I do audio.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, okay. And I'm expecting everything described Sasquatch all the way up until this thing towered over him.
Right.
And then I was like, I have no idea what that is. But going through research and everything, I figured out it might have been Nalusa, which is a Native American cryptid that hunts hunters, and if it catches you asleep, it'll prick you with a thorn, and you'll get delirious and kill your partners and go nuts and crazy.
Really?
Yep. So the cool thing again, Arkansas, Trail of Tears came through Arkansas.
Yes.
Prior to that, though, Arkansas again, we got the mountains down here. Arkansas, I think, with the Arkansas River and the other rivers that we have, was a hot spot for a lot of the Native Americans. The research area that we have up in Bald Knob, the guy that grew up on there, he tells you when it rains, him and his siblings will go out there and fill up boxes full of arrowheads. You're not going to have that much. You're not seeing the boxes. You're not going to have that many arrowheads unless they're left there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and there's a legend on the property next to theirs of a Black Indian family that's buried under this giant tree. and you start looking into that, that's where you get the Morocco people coming in that maybe were in Florida first before Columbus was down south. They came over. There's a lot of legends. Obviously, we now know that the Vikings were up, in northern part of the continent before Columbus was over here, and we found Chinese relics over in California. So the Chinese actually made their way here. And then the Chinese quit selling. Why? I'm just throwing it out there. So, but it's funny that everybody that tried to settle in over here could not.
Yeah.
Except for the Europeans.
Right.
Because the Vikings tried, they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So, and nobody knows why.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not saying that's paranormal crypto. I'm just saying there's.
Sure.
Yeah.
No.
So, but yeah. Yeah. So I think
it's got to be something to it, though.
But Arkansas is a hot spot, and we do get overlooked. And there's a lot of activity here.
Yeah.
Hot Springs is full of it.
Right.
I mean, for obvious reasons. The hot springs and the quartz and everything down there.
Yeah.
North Little Rock's full of it. Little Rock's full of it. Yeah. Right here with the rivers. Northwest Arkansas is full of cryptids. Crazy. Yeah. I mean, like I said, you can't throw a stone. Your case, though, sounds like the Fae. I'll tell you what. Let me look into it. Now,
okay.
You told me about it. Let me look into it.
I'm gonna try to find the photo too.
You can find the photo. Yeah, send it to me. You don't have to do it right now. Just send it to me.
I was like, it's so weird because I thought I knew where it was.
We'll look right into it. Well, real quick, pull up Google. What was the name of the god? If you do jackal-headed god, and it'll pull the name right up.
Oh, the Egyptian?
Yeah. I bet it'll pull right up.
Jackal-headed.
See, this is how I do my show, too.
Egyptian god. Yeah.
I left mine sitting over there.
I just always think Anubis?
Anubis. That's it. Anubis. And there's a town, too, similar to Anubis. So it was full of these dog. Yeah, so that's where.
Yeah.
So we could keep going further back.
Yeah, that's awesome. Before we go, I wanted to ask you about a couple of different, I know you say you were a movie buff, so I wanted to get the cryptid specialist's take on a few cryptids that have come up in movies recently. All right. Did you see the new Wolfman?
No.
You haven't seen the new Wolfman
I've not seen the new Wolfman. Okay. I think Tommy did, and he said I have to see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. I mean, I enjoyed it.
How about The Watchers?
The Watchers. Let me think about that one.
Shalom Alay's daughter did that one.
Oh my God! Yes. I know what you're talking about. Yes. I saw that one in theaters.
There's Fae folk.
I really enjoyed it.
Mentioned.
I know. I didn't see that coming whatsoever. Because I was like, "What is going on? Is it like a science experiment or whatever like that?" But then you find out what's actually going on. That's crazy. Yeah.
Wild. She did her research for that movie, and it blew me away.
Yeah.
I sat there as going, "No way."
Yeah.
I mean, it gave me goosebumps, and it was so spot on to a lot of what took place with the Nephilim and with the Fae folk and stuff, and why you don't make a deal with the fairies. Y'all don't
make.
They're not Tinkerbells. It's not Tinkerbell.
That episode we did with Unexplained Arkansas about the Ozark witches. So fairies are also explained in there. How the magic, well, they didn't call themselves witches, you know what I mean, of course, but the people that were practicing magic on the mountains in the Ozark Mountains, they believe that you either inherit your magical abilities because you're a descendant of somebody who had those before, or if you had encountered what they call the little folk, which was based off of the Irish, Fae and fairies.
Well, they're all over.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they would say if you encountered them and you made a deal, then you could get some sort of magical abilities off of, or like you would know how to.
Well, since St. Patty's Day's coming up, the leprechauns were the shoemakers for the Fae folk.
Okay. That's what we should have focused on.
And
here.
do you know what else is funny about the leprechaun too? Ready? Okay. So do you know why?
Leprechaun or Leprechaun 2, the movie?
No, Leprechaun.
Okay, just Leprechaun.
Leprechaun.
Also.
Okay, so leprechauns. All right. So leprechauns, the reason why we wear green, okay, is because leprechauns, when they see, they'll pinch you.
Yes.
Okay, but they can't see green.
Okay.
So we wear green on St. Patrick's Day so we're invisible to leprechauns. And that's why you get pinched if you're not wearing green.
Because, okay, so what do they see instead of like they're just
colorblind?
Yeah,
they don't see green. Yeah, green. Yeah, they can't see green.
But when they see like a disembodied head just floating,
I haven't had a chance to interview one and ask him yet, but that's the reason why.
Okay,
and then the clover. You know why that one's big for St. Patrick's Day?
I can't remember. I did
the Holy Trinity.
Yes, that's right.
So St. Patrick used that as the symbol of the Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
Now here's the dark part of that too. St. Patrick's famous for driving the snakes out of Ireland, right?
Yeah.
Snakes are what they call the Celtic people.
Really?
Yeah. There was a derogatory term they called the Celtic people.
That's insane.
So St. Patrick was a slave.
I do remember that, yeah.
And so he came back to Ireland to baptize them, and he baptized them with fire pretty much.
Yeah.
So he went through, and if you didn't convert,
Oh, that's a dark turn on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what I tell everybody too. When you start researching a lot of this stuff, it's going to take you in places you're going to have a hard time believing. Like, the St. Christopher thing, that blew me away. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I started digging even deeper into that one. I was going, wow. And he converted to Christianity because he heard, Jesus was already, had already passed and been resurrected at this point in time. And so he had heard the teachings of him, and he was like, I'm going to follow. And he started preaching, and he was wandering and preaching. And as he got baptized is when he, is told that God, changed him into a man.
Wow.
Yep. And he's now the patron saint of travel.
That's insane. I was going to ask you about Godzilla versus Kong.
Which one?
Godzilla versus Kong. What do you think about the whole new Godzilla, Kong? I can't remember what the name
Love
of
it.
You like that?
I'll be honest with you, with the whole monarch thing and with the the government.
I'm trying to think what that organization's called.
Was it Monarch?
Monarch, yes, thank you. Yeah.
I love it.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, a huge fan. Okay. Huge fan. Did you see the remake they did of the Japanese version?
Yeah.
Came out on Netflix within like the past 6 months.
Minus.
Yeah, Godzilla minus or something like that.
Godzilla
that was classic.
Minus one, yeah.
Yeah, that was classic. Godzilla, loved it.
That was incredible.
That was great.
Yeah.
Yep. So the King Kong, Godzilla.
Okay.
Huge fan. Yep.
Good.
Huge fan. Do more. I need to watch. I don't have Apple TV yet. My buddy Jeff Allen, he's like, dude, you gotta watch it. They've got it on because me and Jeff are about horror movies and stuff, and so in Star Wars, so we'll text each other back and forth about them. But so he's like, you got to get Apple TV just to watch that series. It's got Kurt Russell in it, I believe, and it's about Monarch. Yeah.
So you haven't seen the series yet?
I've not seen the series.
I watched it. Yeah,
I don't have Apple TV.
It's good. Like they didn't it's just one of those things where they didn't usually when it goes to like a TV series, they hold back on the budget a whole lot, and so it doesn't look like it does in the movies. You know what I mean? But this, no, they did it. I'm really, really surprised
the way they did it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, I got a cryptid movie for you.
Okay, what's it?
From 1986.
Okay,
87. Predator.
Okay, so you think Predator's a cryptid?
Okay, so I believe and I came up with this theory about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
The Predator is based upon, I think the brothers had an encounter with Sasquatch.
Okay.
I really, minus, obviously the lasers and the blowing things up and everything else, because the cloaking. Mm-hmm. Cloaking is really
that
huge.
Makes sense. Yes.
Mimicking sounds.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever heard of the Sierra sounds. Mm-mm. Ron Moorhead in the 60s, I believe it was, took a tape recorder and recorded these sounds in the Sierra Nevadas. And this chatter, almost, they call it samurai chatter. It's where they're trying to, it sounds like they're trying to mimic us. Mm-hmm. And what's funny is on the recordings, you can hear Ron and his buddy trying to mimic them, mimicking us. And they're actually laughing. They're trying to say something. I mean, they're actually trying to converse, and you can hear different ones. And it's creepy. Yeah. And what's funny, if you play that, like the first time I played with my dog, Jack, cowered. And ran to his crate. Yeah. And my cat was like, what the?
Wow.
So if you play the Sierra sounds around your pets, see how they act.
That's interesting. Maybe unrelated, maybe related. I don't know. But recently, there's been a phenomena with that show Severance. I know you don't have Apple TV, but you know what Severance is. Mm-hmm. You remember? Oh wow, okay. It's like a TV show where there's this company called Lumen, and so the employees they get this thing that's brain a thing put in their head, and they disconnects part of their neurons and stuff like that. So when they can go in the elevator as what they call their Audi, which is like you here in the natural world, right. And then somewhere along the elevator something snaps in your brain and you become this other part of yourself that is just made to work. Okay. And so you go to work, you do whatever, useless thing that they're making you do there. And then you go back down the elevator and your outside version doesn't have any knowledge whatsoever of what that other part of you did. You know what I mean?
That's weird. Okay.
but they're so good with the sounds inside of that show, like even like the theme song, like everything that has like so much attention that's brought to it. But dogs are freaking out about it. Like when it's on the TV, like there's like if a dog is in the room, like it's just really, really, really concerned about whatever's happening. But it's stuff like we don't really pay attention to or hear as humans.
Well, so on that note too, though, that's where infrasound comes in at.
Yeah.
So, a lot of animals in the natural world use infrasound.
Yeah.
Elephants do it, whales do it, tigers do it to paralyze their prey. The government's now been experimenting with it for years and years and years as a non-lethal way of breaking up riots. And it's a sound that we don't detect, but our body reacts to it. You know, there was a village in India, and I want to say it was India, and the suicide rate for males in that town, this village, skyrocketed.
Wow.
And they come to find out there's an elephant on one end of the village and another elephant on the other end of the village, and they were communicating through infrasound to each other. Okay. And that's what was taking place. And the Sasquatch, you know, in our research out there is where me and Tanice were talking about. We were on this infrasound gig, and it's, you know, like I said, he goes into it more detail. Where his theory on it is the reason why we are getting blurred pictures is because this infrasound's coming off and it's messing with the camera. The vibrations and everything it was doing.
Yeah.
And they got that from the bass. You know, if you're playing your bass in your car, your mirrors are vibrating and stuff like that. So what's it doing to everything else? It's vibrating you. So that frequency is vibrating at the infrasound level. And we've been experimenting with it to where we've actually been able to try and track down on, we've got my buddy Tony uses sound for work. So when they're doing wires and cabling and everything, they detect, you know, where they have, you don't talk about it. The sound coming in, and we broke it out in our research area, and you can clearly see where there is infrasound at the lower frequencies that we're picking up versus an area like my backyard doesn't have it, but out there in the woods there's another sound that should not be there, where in my backyard we should be picking up like the hum of the neon lights or the other lights that we're picking up. None of that is being picked up, but out there's an infrasound going on. So Sasquatches, I mean, this infrasounds where people do get zapped. And I got zapped this past fall. I believe I got zapped.
Okay.
With my encounter that I had. And it does mess with you. Yeah, I was weirded out for about 4 days. I was. It'll screw with you on the infrasound thing. So you're talking about the sounds. I think that's what they're doing, to where, you know, dogs can, you know, can hear it, and obviously they can hear frequencies, so they cannot. And that's what freaks them out. So I think that on the recordings, that infrasound's being in there, and maybe on the music, what's going on, there may be unintentional infrasound, which is also be considered EMFs. You know, if a person is around too much EMF, it's going to make them uncomfortable. It's going to make them a little nausea. They're not going to feel really good.
Yeah.
You know, so use EMF. So, you know, they, in the ghost hunting world, you know, EMF detectors are used to detect, you know, presence of spirits because they're putting off EMFs. But you can use your EMF detector and go to your router box and see how much it's putting out. And you'll see that spikes are happening. That's where you want to detect where natural EMFs, i.e. infrasound, stuff like that, is being taken place. And which on the show, the sound coming through may be, you know, whatever notes are playing may be triggering some sort of infrasound where the dogs are reacting to it.
Wow. It's good knowledge.
I could do this for hours.
Yeah, I know, Matt, you're a fascinating guy. You have a lot of knowledge on a lot of different things, and I could sit here and do this for hours because I'm like, wow, it's incredible. But I do, you know, we got to close the episode out, but I do want to get to, you've got a million things that are coming up. So you want to plug some of your upcoming like shows and things?
Okay, yeah. So was recently featured on Surfer Sasquatch. That episode airs. It's on Tubi, you guys. That airs at the end of March, beginning of April timeframe. Beginning of April on April 5th, I'm doing a live show with the Cryptids of the Corn crew out of Ada, Ohio. They're coming down here, so we're going to be hanging out. On all my show descriptions is the Eventbrite tickets, so that way people can purchase the tickets. The Cryptids of the Corn website, the tickets are there. Make sure you get the North Little Rock one. Drunken Cryptids show. Don't buy the one they're doing another one in Ada, but that's on April 5th. And then right now we're putting together an expedition for Portlock, Alaska. So we're aiming for end of July of this year. I don't think it's going to happen because we're halfway through March now. We've had some setbacks. So one of the guys just has shoulder surgery that set him back. So maybe next year. But so Portlock, Alaska is on there, which is an honor to be invited to go do that. Then I've got speaking engagement in Ada, Ohio, at the Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree, and locally, was cast into a horror movie to play kind of a bad guy. I get turned to a mutant and I help animals kill. Filming's already started for that one.
That's great.
They haven't needed me yet. So next weekend, I'll be up there on set, getting all my scenes filmed and everything. It's going to be a short movie, and that should come out sometime this fall. That's what they're hoping for. Yeah. And then we're working another script right now for another film that's going to be involving Bigfoot. So I can leave it at that.
Who's directing that?
Locally. Yeah, local nobodies, to be honest with you. So I can't remember the director's name. We've only talked on Facebook, and he did a video call with me, and he goes, "Yeah, you're my guy." And I went, "All right.
Okay.
Sure."
I thought you were going to say for sure it was Jason Pitts, and I was going to be like, "We love Jason Pitts."
I don't know. Awesome. Yeah. Again, I'm a movie guy, but I don't know who the people are. I'm just like, "Hey, I'll show up and do it." And
just
I thought it was
for the
funny.
gig. I'm here for the gig.
Exactly. I'm just here for the gig.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we got to sign a contract. I mean, we're not getting any money up front. And do I expect to make any money off of it? No. Am I looking forward to having fun with this, though?
For sure.
Yeah. Because the way I look at it is I'm building my legacy for my grandkids. You know what I mean? So my grandkids will look and go, Grandpa was crazy.
He was crazy. It's kind of funny because it started with you talking about your grandpa saying, Bigfoot's in those mountains.
Yep. And now it's going to be my grandkids going, big.
You're doing the same thing for your grandkids.
Grandpa was telling it. I got a little grandson out in California.
Yeah.
And told my daughter, like, I'm so sorry for him because I'm his grandpa. And she goes, I know, Dad. I know.
Right.
But it's, and then my two little ones here. We're working with doing a career fair. My daughter and Tommy's son's school. They're same age, same grade. They go.
Oh wow! I didn't know that.
So we're doing a career fair with them, and we're talking to the kids about the dangers of going online, watching. Because kids nowadays are interested in YouTube videos. They want to make YouTube videos, and they see the TikToks. And as much as we try and keep our kids away from all that, we can't.
Yeah.
So we got to be prepared to counter it. How warn them, let them understand the dangers, and my daughter's 11 and she's actually, so we're getting ready to start a show for them called Little Cryptids, where it'd be a show for kids by kids.
Yeah.
And they're going to talk about cryptids from a kid's perspective and a kid's research is what, so that's what we're working on right now. So we're hoping the first episode drops hopefully in April.
Yeah.
Is what we're hoping for. We wanted to get some episodes recorded for them, let them get it comfortable. My daughter's been done 2 episodes with me already. So we did the Crescent and Stanley Hotel. And so the first episode the kids are going to do is on the Loch Ness Monster.
Wow. Okay.
So, now, my daughter knows already what I think, but they're going to do kids and dig in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's fun. That's the whole point. So, that's what. In the Arkansas Paranormal Expo. I'll be there. This year.
Paranormal Expo.
Yeah, Paranormal Expo will be there.
I've never been. This might be my first year. It is a lot of
fun. Yeah. They work really hard at putting on, because there's not a lot here in Arkansas for this stuff. There's really not. But they work really hard to put on a really good motley crew of vendors.
Sure.
They're real picky about the podcast. We got lucky last year and got in. There was us. We had Unexplained Arkansas next to us, which I loved. I love them to death. They're great people. So we had a chance to visit back and forth and stuff and talk. But they'll have, a lot. They try and get their hands on good speakers. But again, we're so small. So trying to get like the Ron Moorheads, and these guys cost money and stuff. And the only way that we're going to get better conferences is if everybody comes out.
Yeah.
Dear God, come out. Pay pay $5. You know what I mean? And help support, local, in the expo.
Yeah.
You want to get a chance to meet Ron Moorhead? I mean, come out and support.
Yeah.
That simple.
Right.
So I'm going to meet Ron Moorhead with or without him, just because I'm lucky enough now of what I'm doing and the work that I put into. I'm going to get a chance this year sometime to sit down with Ron Moorhead, Les Stroud, and some of these other big names. And it's not to interview them. I want to sit down and go, all right, tell me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Without the microphones going. Right. And that's a conference in Oregon called Beachfoot. I've been invited to Beachfoot. And that's a private invitee only for the Bigfoot community.
Beachfoot.
Yeah, it's called Beachfoot. And it's the last one they're doing. Yeah. And because they're changing the location. But I was lucky enough to be invited to come up and hang out with the who's who, the Bigfoot community.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. But y'all want to get some of the bigger names that come through here in Arkansas, come support. Listen to the show. Subscribe. Share.
Lots of ways to support.
Yes.
Yeah.
DrunkenCryptids.com. I'm on all your platforms.
There you
I'm
go.
on Facebook. Shoot me a message. If you've had an encounter and you want to come on the show, email me, drunkencryptids@gmail.com. Find me on Facebook. I've done this a lot.
Yeah. Perfect way to end the show. Matt, thank you so much for being on. And I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.